Hey guys, what's good? It's your girl Choreo here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, it is going to be a part 2 to my relieving lower back stiffness. So in my last video, I spoke about using a foam roller. Now there are many different types of foam rollers on the market. It's important to find one that suits you. Now before you do this or any exercise program, it's very important for you to understand that this is not a substitute for medical treatment. There are many different types of equipment that you can use. The most important thing is that you find something that is stiff enough that it doesn't have so much give that you're not really feeling the stretch. So what they'll essentially be doing is offering a type of overstretch for your tissues. So this is a deadlift strap and it's very stiff. So this is an example of something you could use. The next one is going to be a very stiff resistance band, right? I also have resistance loops, and because they're pretty stretchy and my legs are pretty strong, what I will do is I will double them up. For you, maybe a medium intensity band is suffice for you based on where it is that you are today, or maybe an extra heavy band might be suffice for you. This is the most ideal equipment. It's called a stretch out band and I will link it below. The great thing about this is that it has different loops that you can put your foot in or whatever joint it is that you're stretching. So when you are stretching to relieve lower back issues or lower back stiffness, you want to think about what the joints below and the joints above the lower back where you're feeling the issue is doing. How are they? Are they healthy? Check with your healthcare provider. So I'm going to stretch my hamstrings. I'm going to stretch the outside of my hip, the tensor fascia lata. I'm going to stretch my hip flexors and I'm going to stretch my adductors. I'm also going to stretch my back. Okay, so not all the exercises will require this band, but the first round is going to require it. And each exercise, feel free to modify to suit your own needs, right? Yeah, and there should be no pain. So here we go. First thing we're going to do is a hamstring stretch. So I'm going to lie down here, and for my stretch out band, I'm going to put my foot through this loop here. And what I was saying earlier about the stretch out band, you can hold it like that. Now, if you have a resistance loop, just put the foot through the resistance loop. And so this is, for example, that's the loop, and you just hold either end of the resistance loop. Same thing with the other band. So anything can be used. You could even use a stiff towel, right? And I'm going to curl my toes down. The whole point of this is to stretch the calves behind the knees, deep down into the hamstrings. So persons with lower back pain, you may want to keep this knee bent, foot in contact with the floor. If it's available for you, you can stretch that leg out from the heel, pressing it down while keeping this leg as straight as possible. And we hold it for a good 10 counts, 10 to 15 to 20 seconds, as long as you can tolerate it there. So let's get it. And rest. From here, I'm just going to slip my other leg in and I'm going to hold that side again. Curl the toes down. Very important that you curl these toes down. Flex the ankle, not point. Flex it so that you're increasing the intensity of the stretch back here. Press the lower back into the floor and focus on that breath out. And rest. Good. Now one thing I want to indicate, if while you're stretching one leg is up 90 degrees, the other one is down, and you're unable to flush that leg flat on the floor, it could indicate that your hip flexors are tight. Tight hip flexors can also be a culprit when dealing with stiffness in the lower back. But don't worry, we're going to get there. So the next thing we're going to be doing, I'm also going to still loop my foot in, but I'm going to extend, bring that leg out to the side while still externally rotating my leg. So from here, I externally rotate the leg, because now I'm getting into the adductors, the groin area. Let me shift over a little bit just so I don't fall off camera. So turn the hip out and then point the toes down to the floor. And again, as you did with this side, you can either leave the leg here bent or you can stretch the leg down to the floor. You have also the opportunity of holding the hand here. If that feels better, go ahead and do it. Some persons may want to hold on to the foot itself and stretch. If that's available to you, adjust and make it yours. Whatever you do, babies, I like to ask persons to keep one hand on the opposite hip so that it doesn't roll over like this. Keep that hip squared to the roof, or if you're outside, squared to the sky, so that it doesn't roll over and you get the full stretch in the groin area. And relax. And now I'm going to go to the opposite side. Same thing. I'm going to loop. Use my stretch out band. Or if you're using any other material or equipment, it's the same thing. Right? So here we go. Curl those toes down. Turn the leg out. 3, 2, 1. Turn it out. Bring that leg down. If it's available and you want to hold on to the outside of your hip, the inside of the leg, go ahead and do so. And throughout these exercises, make sure you're doing deep breathing, inhaling and exhaling. And relax. And now we're gonna do an exercise called physiotherapists refer to it as Faber's flexion, abduction, external rotation. So all you're gonna do is cross one foot here. My ankle is in contact with right above my knee. And then I'm going to loop my hands through here and I'm going to hold on to below my knee. If this is not available to you, my baby, what you can do for a modification is put one leg against the wall. The other foot is going to cross it. And you notice, if you can see, there's a figure 4 here. If I put one foot up, you see the stick. There's a figure 4 here. And then all you're going to do, as you feel comfortable, you can bring the hips closer. And as you get closer, it will increase that intensity and you're feeling the stretch in this part of the hip here, right? So let's get into that stretch. We're holding it for the same 10 to 20 seconds before moving to the opposite side. This is an excellent stretch for lower back stiffness. I mean, they all are, but this is like one of the golden tools for lower back stiffness. So we stretch here. It's also called a piriformis stretch because there's a small muscle deep in the glutes that tends to be a culprit when it comes on to back pain and stiffness. Once that little muscle is weak or just feels like it wants to rebel and not do any work, it can create havoc in the lower back and the hips too, babes. So this is a piriformis stretch. It helps to stretch out that little muscle. So you can feel free to also rock a little bit, peel those glutes off the floor and down, only if it feels good, all right? While still maintaining an external rotation of this leg right here. And that's if you're not doing the modified version to this stretch. And when you're good and ready, switching to the opposite side, same thing. If you want to do the modifications, go ahead and do it. I'm going to get a little rock in on this side too. Getting deep into those tissues. Nice. And then while we're here on the floor, if and only if you can tolerate it, we're going to bring the legs up and over. Modification to this before I go into it is just simply putting the legs up on the wall, just like so. Okay? And yes, my hips are in contact with the wall. This may be too intense for you because maybe your hamstrings are very stiff. If that is the case, you can bring yourself away from the wall. Try to keep those toes flexed back so that even though this is for the lower back, you are also engaging the hamstrings in a nice, delightful stretch. Easy stretch, but it's still really good for you. Okay? Then, the other one to this, the more advanced version, which may not be available for some persons, is simply bringing the hips over just like this. For some persons, maybe the feet may not contact the floor. Other persons, it might contact the floor. So you just hold here. Focus on the breath out. This is actually pretty good for traction in the back, opening up those joints that may have become compressed with lots of sitting, lots of standing, or if you do a lot of physical work. This is also good for relieving that compression, for decompressing the spine. If it starts to feel uncomfortable, then you want to back off of it and slowly unfold yourself. And slowly coming down, engaging the core, activating the core as you slowly bring the body down. And keeping the knees to the chest. The other stretch I'm going to do is a counter rotation stretch, also one of the golden exercises for lower back stiffness and even pain. Bring the knees right over to the side. Keeping both shoulders on the floor, one hand on the hip, turning away from the legs, and just breathe in this position. And switching to the opposite side, same thing. Lift the knees up and bringing them across. Shoulder blades both on the floor. One hand is on that hip of that opposite leg, stretching. Focus on the breath. Then we uncurl ourselves or untwist ourselves. We're gonna lie on the tummy. Well, not lying on the tummy, we're going on all fours. And then you can choose to either open the knees or keep them closed. We're doing a child's pose. So we're just going to push back, stretching the body here, stretching, keeping the hands in one position, stretching away from the hands. Hold this position here. Maybe your forehead comes down to the mat. And then we're getting into those hip flexors I spoke about earlier. So one leg will come forward. This is our final stretch, and we're stretching right here. Okay. Now I wanted to add that a beautiful combination for you will be stretches and rolling using your foam roller. Really excellent combination. So what you do, essentially you roll first and then you get into your stretches. You could do a workout first, okay? And I'm gonna link all of these suggested videos so you could have like a whole conditioning routine for your lower back stiffness. You can do an exercise routine first for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then you can get into your foam rolling to further loosen up those tissues, those connective tissues, the muscles, and then you can get into your stretches. Trust me. Excellent. Opposite side. All right, beautiful. So this has been part 2 of my relieving lower back stiffness. All of this is, of course, a bid to help you to improve upon your body rolls. But for some persons, maybe it might just be an adjunct to your workout routine. Maybe it might be helpful for even men, not just women. All right, so thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Bye!